Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got a video covering the Winterfest 2025 Storefront refresh, where we've got 5 new tanks coming into the store that you can earn for Snowballs, as well as some new camos, some new commanders, all that good stuff. There's 4 old tanks that have come into the store, which are World War II vehicles, which is the Obj 777 version 2, the M48 120mm, the Bourrasque, and the T28 HTC, or the T28 concept, and then one new vehicle, which is the Moldmaster Mark 1, which we're not really going to go into in this video, and that's because I've released a full review for that vehicle yesterday, so go check that out for the Moldmaster. But in this video, we're going to have a look at how much those vehicles cost. We're going to go through a mini review for those vehicles, so what we're running in terms of accruing equipment for the 4 vehicles that have come in, as well as the statistics for those tanks, and then a bit of gameplay as well. And we're also going to go through some of the camos that have come into the store, as well as some of the commanders too. So to get to that area where you want to be spending your snowballs, you press RB or whatever it is on PlayStation to get to the Winterfest tab, get to the toy store front here, press A on Toy Store, and there we go. We can get to the bit where you can actually spend your snowballs. So as you can see, we've got the Bourrasque that's come in for 15,000 snowballs, the Moldmaster, which is the new tank that's come in, which is 17,000 snowballs, the 777 version 2 is 35,000 snowballs, the M48 120mm is 45,000 snowballs, and the T28 concept is also 14,000 snowballs. So it's quite expensive in terms of snowballs, but again, you can get these vehicles for free, which is always quite nice when, if you were to buy these things for gold, they would cost you an absolutely arm and a leg, but just an arm and a leg, absolute ridiculous amount of money. So to be able to earn these things for free just by playing and earning snowballs and earning the in-game currency and stuff like that is always quite nice to be able to do. And some of these vehicles are really solid. T28 HTC, not too great, and most people know what it's about because it's been earn ops many times. The M48 120mm these days is an absolutely fantastic Tier 10 American medium tank. It's a very good platform for what is an absolutely immense gun on DPM. The Obj 777 version 2 is a slower, pretty well armoured heavy tank, but the gun's a bit slow with the DPM, it's a bit derpy. It's an okay tank, but it's just a bit old at this point. And the Bourrasque is a fantastic pseudo-scout medium tank at Tier 8. Double tap autoloader, absolutely fantastic vehicle. The only real downside to this tank is the fact that the gun is very derpy. But yeah, you've got all these 4 vehicles that you can get now for free with the snowballs, adding onto the dual battery and the T54D, as well as the brand new Moldmaster Mark 1. And in terms of skins and camos for the new Winterfest stuff as well, we've got the Krampus Claws skin for the mouse, the Ice Queen E100 skin as well as the M48 120mm Winter Warriors skin for 2,000 snowballs, the Bourrasque Winter Warriors skin for 2,000 snowballs, the Object 777 version 2 Winter Warriors skin for 2,000 snowballs, and the T28 HTC Santa's Sleigh skin, which is 2,000 snowballs. As well as that, we've got some new camos that have come into the store as well, like the Krampus sweater camo, which is a different take on the ugly Xmas sweater camo. So as you can see here, that's what it looks like. We've got some Krampus on there. It looks pretty cool, very bright. You've got other ones like the Cat Tangle camo as well that's come in from last year, the Thin Ice camo from last year. You've got the Ice Treads camo, which is a new one that's come in this year, which is a little bit understated. And it looks okay, but for me, that's a little bit too understated, I think, compared to something like the Krampus sweater camo that's come in. But it's personal preference at the end of the day. You've got the Grift. Yes, Grift. You've got the Gift Wrap White camo, which has come into the game as well, which is just another wrapping paper camo like the red one that you could get last year. You've got the Ugly Xmas sweater, which is one of my favourites. It does look very good. As well as the Panda one, but I can't find the Panda one. It makes me very sad. Very sad. But yeah, you've got the Ugly Xmas sweater. You've got this is one of my favourites as well, the Holiday Kitties camo, which is 500 snowballs. I don't think you could actually get this one in the store last year, so it's nice to be able to pick it up and get more of them, which I have picked up quite a few of them, because it's nice to be able to do that. Then you've got the Nutcracker camo. You've got the Snowman sledding camo as well, which is a very nice camo. I actually do like that camo quite a bit. But they all cost 500 snowballs, so not too much at all. And then you can go and put these on any tank that you actually want to, which is always nice. You got stuff like this new as well, like this one, which was that came in with Winterfest in general, the Gift Wrap Presents camo, which looks pretty cool. It's always nice to be able to pick up a load of these camos for free, as then it saves you a bit of gold when you're fully camoing out your vehicles. It's nice to be able to pick up the skins for the M48 120mm, the Bourrasque, and the 777 version 2 as well. And then in terms of the commanders, you've got the PFC PVC, which is the toy soldier dude that's coming in as a 3-star commander for 6,000. You've got Robert, who's already been in the store. You've got Nutso, and then you can pick up the Ice Queen, Santa, and Wojciech as well, who does have the Bearer of Gifts skin that you can get for him at some point as well, which is cool. So, yeah, that's what you can get in terms of the storefront for the Snowball tanks, for the camos, and also for the commanders as well. So let's go into the actual tanks themselves. So we're going to start here with the M48 120mm, which, like I say, is a fantastic American Tier 10 premium medium tank. It's one of those that when it first came in, this vehicle was not that good, and that's because the turret front was dreadful. It got penned really, really easily. The DPM wasn't that great. The gun was pretty derpy because it was fairly similar statistically to the old T95 E6 gun. And, yeah, the mobility was fairly average as well, which is still the thing. It's still average mobility. But, yeah, generally now, the turret front can actually ricochet you shots off the turret front unless they hit this cupola, because the cupola is a big weak spot. It's very, very easy to hit. But if they hit the top of your turret here, they can actually ricochet shots, which is quite nice. The armor is an M48 hull, which, again, is fairly decent. It's not incredible, but it's not bad. You can side scrape with this thing and bounce shots. But yeah, if they hit your upper plate or lower plate, generally most things at Tier 10 will go through it. What it is a platform for what is a fantastic gun with fantastic DPM now. It's been buffed to a level where it's just absolutely insane. It's got 440 alpha. It is a very, very nice gun indeed, and it is very, very good to be able to use that on this vehicle. And you can really farm very hard with this tank. So, yeah, before I get into the statistics, I did forget to mention, what I'm going to do is actually have a separate video on all three, or at least 3 of these tanks, so you can see more gameplay for these vehicles and see what they're all about and stuff like that. But what we're going to do here is go through the crew and equipment setups as well as just show you a replay from them, just so you get a general gist of the vehicle. So I will have separate videos on the M48 120mm, the Bourrasque, and the 777 version 2 as well. T28 HTC is one of those that's been around a long time. Most people will know about it, so I'm just putting out more content on the other 3. So yeah, with the M48 120mm, what are we going to run in terms of a crew and equipment? Well, in terms of a crew and equipment, we run Born Leader, Situational Awareness, Snapshot, Run and Gun, Expert Gunner, Armour Angling, Track Mechanic, Rapid Aim, and Clutch Braking. Clutch Braking and Rapid Aim just to make the turret traverse and track traverse that little bit better, so that this tank feels pretty nimble. Track Mechanic, because I do tend to get stuck in with this vehicle quite a bit, and it's nice to be able to get the tracks back on faster if I need to, especially if I've already burnt the repair kit. Armour Angling to reduce the amount of damage coming to the tank by 5%, because again, I do tend to get stuck in. You tend to be spotted all the time in this vehicle as the camo's poor, so it's nice to be able to reduce the amount of damage coming into the tank if they do pen you. Expert Gunner to increase the chance of damaging enemy modules by 6%, as well as decreasing the effect that distance has on my shell penetration. Run and Gun and Snapshot to be able to make the gun as good as humanly possible, get the accuracy during rotation and movement down as low as possible so that aim circle doesn't bloom out too badly, and we don't have to wait for the aim time to work its way down. And the situational awareness to get the view range as good as possible, as well as the Born Leader to make the best out of everything on the vehicle. And in terms of equipment for this tank, we run the Advanced Loader, the Gun Stabilizer, Optics, and the Turbo. Optics to be able to get the fantastic 513 meters of view range that you can see there. The Turbo to get the 50 kilometers an hour top speed, so this tank is a little bit more mobile. Gun Stabilizer to get the accuracy during rotation and movement down as low as possible, because if you don't help it out with that, it can be a little bit poorer. So it's nice to be able to do that so that we can get the snapshots out left, right, and centre in this vehicle and make this gun feel absolutely immense. And the Advanced Loader to get the best out of the DPM. In terms of the in terms of the modules for this vehicle when it wants to load, you've got the engine block there in the vehicle. It does like getting set on fire if you get shot in that back end, so you do have to be careful of that. That's a very, very American thing. The ammo racks are there, so this thing does kind of like getting ammo racked. If you get shot through this drive wheel here, they're likely to damage your ammo rack because of the 2 big blocks. If you get shot through that drive wheel there, again, you're likely to get the ammo rack damaged. If they shoot you in the back of the turret on this left-hand side as well, that's where they're likely to damage the ammo rack. And that's where the crew sits in the M48 120mm. And like I say, in terms of the armor for this vehicle, it's one of those that the hull armor is not the best, but it's not the worst. You can side scrape with it because of the boat-shaped hull. Generally, it's pretty nice for that, as long as you're not taking hits in this rear end. You can ricochet shots off this side if you do decide to side scrape. Like I say, this turret front here is one of those that is now able to ricochet quite a few shells for you, which is quite nice. So it's one of those that you don't want to rely on it, though, because you do have a good, solid turret front at 250 now, round the gun, and because of angles on the turret, again, shells can hit it and ricochet, which is something that it struggled with before because this was a lot weaker, but now it's decent for that. But you've got the big glaring weak point in the cupola on top, which is pure pain. And the fact is, it's very, very easy to pen, as it's only 127mm thick. Very, very easy to pen. Most vehicles at tier 10 will absolutely butcher the poor cupola, and sad times for you in the M48 at 120mm. So you use the full gun depression on this vehicle, expose only the turret, but don't sit there thinking you're going to bounce vehicles off of the turret reliably, because you're not. Because if they hit that cupola, pen central, which is a sad time. But just keep moving up and down on the ridgeline and you'll do decently with it. So let's get into the statistics of the vehicle. So as you can see, we've got a 50.71 km/h top speed, 21 km/h reverse speed, 866.25 horsepower engine, which is 17.42 horsepower per ton ratio. So this vehicle does get up to its top speed pretty well, and with a 1.73 on soft, 0.86 on medium, and a 0.77 on firm, generally this vehicle will get to its top speed very, very easily. It's a pretty mobile tank. Like I say, it's got a very average top speed for a medium tank at tier 10, but it does get there. You've got the 56.29 degree a second hull rotation speed with a 48.62 degree a second turret rotation speed. So the turret rotation is that little bit slower than the tracks, so do bear that in mind. But as a pair, they are both still very, very quick. You got 378 meters of still concealment, same as the 392 on the move concealment. For a medium tank, that's terrible. This vehicle doesn't have good concealment whatsoever, meaning that you just have to play this thing quite aggressively on ridge lines and just be expected to be spotted. You got 513 meters of view range, which means this vehicle is very, very good at spotting for itself, and you can get some big spotting damage games in this vehicle, which is nice. 0.96 accuracy during rotation is not too good, but a 1.22 accuracy during movement is absolutely immense. And it means the aim circle actually doesn't bloom out that badly. And with a 1.63 second aim time, this vehicle aims in very, very well, very, very quickly. And it just means you're ready to snap shots off in this gun very quickly, which is glorious. And as you have a 0.33 accuracy at 100 meters as well, this gun is very accurate. So when you do get it fully aimed, this gun performance is fantastic on this vehicle. Again, it's something that never quite used to be the case for the vehicle, but it's now a lot better. 10 degrees of gun depression means you're incredibly flexible on a ridgeline. This vehicle wants to be on a ridgeline. It is very, very good at it. And then you can keep popping over and smashing people for 440, which is delightful for the tank. You got 7.54 second reload, which is 3.5k DPM, which is absolutely immense DPM in this day and age for tier 10, and it can just farm so hard. You can get so much damage so quickly, and it is very, very nice for that. 258 penetration on the standard AP, 340 on the premium heat rounds, and 60mm of penetration on the HE. Means that you'll go through pretty much everything you're going to face with those kind of penetrations. The 60 is nice for going through the lightly armoured artillery and stuff like that, where you can get that 530 alpha, and the 258 is enough to go through most vehicles, weak spots, unless you load the 340 heat pen, which then can butcher absolutely everything, with 440 on the AP and the heat and 530 on the HE. 1067 meters a second shell velocity on all three rounds means it's slightly above average in terms of the velocity, meaning pay attention to how much lead you're giving to targets so that you can hit them at distance reliably, because that's it, slightly above average, so it will not feel the best in terms of the velocity. And as it is a tier 10 premium tank, you don't really get any bonuses, so that's something to bear in mind, which is why it's always nice to be able to get it through these events where you can get these kinds of tanks completely for free, as opposed to paying the 18, 19, 20, 21, 22k gold that these things generally tend to cost. But yeah, that's the M48 120mm. It's an absolutely solid tier 10 American premium medium tank. What we're going to do now is send you into the replay where you can watch this tank in action and just see how it handles a bit, and you get a general gist of how it goes. But like I say, I will also have a separate video on this vehicle where it'll have about 3 other games in it, so you can just generally see how it goes and a bit more of gameplay. So as always, everybody, I will see you in the replay. So here we are in the replay with the M48 120mm, and this game we are on this map, which is Death Valley, which should be a decent map for the M48 120mm because we do have the 50 km an hour top speed. Like I say, it's fairly average top speed for a tier 10 medium tank, and it means we can either make our way to the H9 area, or we can try and get ourselves towards the encounter cap pretty quickly, go hull down, use the 10 degrees of gun depression, and then just try and farm away. Now, it's a choice on this because you're looking at it going, okay, where do I want to go? Do I want to go towards the encounter cap and try and defend that? Because, again, it can happen quite a lot on this map where teams send a couple of people to the encounter cap, then the team that loses in that area just ends up losing the encounter and they get capped out, so you've got to be careful of that. But also, it's nice for this vehicle to be able to go towards the area at H89, because I can use the mobility to get there, go hull down, use the 10 degrees of gun depression, use my good DPM, and if we do win that section as well, we can also poke over, spot things that are sitting along the EF area of 890, and then try and just farm them with my DPM. Now, I'm not going to get there as quickly as some of the other medium tanks, naturally, that can go at 55, 60 kilometers an hour, but we'll still get there ahead of the enemy team, or about the same time as the enemy team, so that we're not getting there too late. And as you can see, quite a few of our team are going this way. We don't really have to worry about the encounter too badly at this point, because quite a few of our team have also gone along the 1, 2, 3 line as well, which means that they should be able to defend that if they do start capping out. Now, if you do have someone that's a light tank or something like that, go to F6. They can actually spot people that sit at E7, and it can lead to a pretty easy free farm of people that do go there as well, which can be quite nice for you here on Death Valley. So our team has got on top of this hill, and they've not really found anything, and that makes me quite confident in what we're going to be pushing, because I would have thought that by the time our people got up to the top of this ledge, they would have found some sort of tank, but there isn't anything. And there we go. There's the first tank spotted. It's a T57 Heavy. The Waffle Panzer IV at the back gets spotted, and because the T57 Heavy seems to be alone, there's not much seemingly here for the enemy team, it means we can be quite aggressive in getting ourselves to the positions on these ridge lines like we're seeing here. So the Waffle Panzer IV we put a shot into. Something shot the Charioteer from the distance, so we're going to go in and try and get rid of this T57 Heavy as well, because again, he seems quite alone. We can push this guy a bit more aggressively. But in fact, we get a shot into his side there, and I'm sitting there going, help me, team? Please, we need to get rid of this T57. So we put a shot through his lower plate. Actually, it tracked and penned him. We get lucky there. That I think we actually got hit by a Sturm Tiger firing heat, and he didn't pen us. Okay, we'll take that. Thank you very much, Lee. So the T57 Heavy is now a one-shot. We're just going to drive around and finish him off, which we do. And that leaves the 2 tank destroyers down below. Now, again, we don't want to take the hit from the Sturm Tiger, but that Waffle Panzer IV is just sitting there going, shoot me! Shoot me! And so, you know, naturally, we have to listen to these people. If they want to be shot, you listen. So the Sturm Tiger's all alone. Our team's going after it, and I'm looking at the cap going, oh boy. You know what I said about that encounter cap problem? Oh, we might end up getting capped here if we're not careful. But we actually get tracked in the most awkward positions. Something starts auto-loading at us. Thankfully, it stops and we get the tracks back on. But again, that is why we run Track Mechanic, because we'd already burnt the repair kit, and we got tracked in the most awkward position in the universe. We've lost quite a bit of hit points for that, but thankfully we got away from it and managed to not lose any more. The M48A5 pattern is caught out in the open, and we are just basically generally a better version of the M48 pattern at this point in time. And so we're just going to pump out our DPM into this guy, hit him for 440 alpha. He's not even bothered about the fact that we've taken a lot of his hit points, and we finish him off there for our first kill of this game. It's 2.9k damage with 1074 assistance. There's a Murat in front of us. Now, we've got to be careful of the Murat, because that tank is ridiculously strong at tier 10, and he's got a 3-shot autoloader, so if he wants to poke over and put 3 shots into us, he could well do. We end up seeing the Lorraine, but we can't quite find a shot at him, but we do have a shot into the Batchat 15555. So we managed to get a shot into the Piggy there, and the other Piggy's in a position where we could have shot him. I'm thinking, I get a shot into him once I get around this bunker. Once I get around this bunker. There we go. We got into the position, shoot the Lorraine there with a shot through the side, and I think, okay, my team's probably going to end up finishing him off. I'm not really going to focus on that guy too much, and in fact, they do. One of the moments where I was like, aha, you know, I could pull back and shoot the Lorraine around this bunker. You know, I'm just going to keep going forward, because this bunker's not going to take that long, right? Right? You know, one of those. So, we're behind the Murat now. I want to try and track and pen him if I can. And I say this gun was amazing. I said this gun was amazing, right? I jinxed it. I absolutely jinxed it as we hit the floor. We do get a shot through his side. Now, I wanted to track and pen him in the first shot so that I could get number 1 tracking assist, but number 2 stop him if he decided to YOLO at us, because if he did, that wouldn't be great. He looks like he's full sending around that corner, so we aim it up and finish off the Murat there with a shot through his side, leaving just the MXM 451 and that Foch that's in the distance directly in front of us, because we're not really going to get near the other TD. In fact, it's an MXM AC48, which is the tier 8. In the Foch line. So we finish off that MXAC 48, and now we get behind the M451. We're going to go for the tracking shot to try and track and pen it, but sod's law, should have just gone for the pen, because we tried to track and pen him, try and be a little bit clever, get a bit of assistance damage, but he actually ended up stopping where I didn't think he was going to stop, and so we actually didn't track and pen him, we just tracked him, and he repaired it, so it didn't really benefit us anyway, which is really awkward, but there we go. We finished the game with a decent total there for the M48 120mm, 5 kills, 4.9k damage, 1074 assistance damage, with the first class and the sniper medal. Really solid game there for the M48 120mm, showing off what it is capable of. So now we're on to the Obj 777 version 2, the Tier 9 Soviet Premium Heavy Tank, which, like I say, is a decently mobile premium heavy tank with pretty good armour. What it is a very, very good side scraper. That's what this vehicle wants to do. It wants to get to a corner, it wants to side scrape its little booty off, and then it'll have a great time. What it does have, though, is very slow DPM. It has 440 alpha, which used to be a good thing for it, but actually with things like the M103, the Conqueror, stuff like that, some of the other 400 alpha guns getting buffed to 440, but also retaining very good gun depression as well as very good DPM. This vehicle's been a little bit left behind because the gun is a bit derpy, its DPM's not the best, and sometimes it does struggle to keep up with battles that go in front of it. So sometimes your team gets overwhelmed before you can really get anything done, or sometimes your team overwhelms them before you can get anything done, just because it's that little bit slower to be able to get the damage out. Does that mean it's terrible? No, because it's not a terrible tank. You can still do stuff. It's just a little bit frustrating with how slow it can be at times in terms of pushing out the damage. But the armour, like I say, is very, very solid. The turret is very, very solid indeed. Occasionally, you might get a random shot catch these cupolas, but this hull armour is very nice. And like I say, if you side scrape with it, that's where it's key. That's where it's king. It is very, very good side scraper. So let's get into the crew and equipment setup I have on this vehicle. So with the crew for this vehicle, I do run Born Leader, Situational Awareness, Track Mechanic, Run and Gun, Snapshot, Clutch Braking, Rapid Aim, Expert Gunner, and Fire Safety Training. Fire Safety Training because it's Soviet. It likes getting set on fire all the time. And actually, since I've been running Fire Safety Training, it's really not been that bad for getting set on fire, so that's quite nice. Expert Gunner to increase the chance of doing module damage by 6%, as well as decreasing the effect of distance on my penetration, mainly for the module damage to increase the chance of setting people on fire or damaging ammo racks, that sort of thing. The rapid aim and the clutch braking to make the track traverse and turret traverse better, because it's a little bit slow if you don't help it, so I'm trying to help it feel a little bit more nimble. Run and gun and snapshot to get the general accuracy during rotation and movement down as low as possible, so that we don't have to sit and wait for the aim time, which is not the best on this vehicle. And then track mechanic, because we are a brawly heavy tank, it's nice to be able to get the tracks back on faster, and well, these two perks are generally going to take on everything in general. You could quite happily drop something like expert gunner or clutch braking or rapid aim, probably rapid aim to be honest, for armor angling instead, because naturally decreasing the amount of damage going to the tank by 5% is always something that's very, very handy for a heavy tank. That is something you could definitely do. It's really down to you and how you want to kit it out. And in terms of the equipment, again, this is something that you could definitely change out, but advanced loader, optics, the gun stabilizer, vents. Vents is something you could change out for sure, but I like to run it because I want to get the best out of the reload, because the reload is slow. So if I can get the best out of that as possible, sure, that's what I'm going to do by running vents. But that's quite easy to drop out for the GLD, because the aim time is poor, and it takes a wee while to get this gun aimed in, so it can be nice to get the aim time, well, the gun aimed in faster by running the GLD. If you wanted to move faster as well, you could run the turbo too to get that extra engine power and get up to the top speed a bit easier, which it generally does do too. So that's also a definite possibility. But the gun stabilizer definitely to get the accuracy during rotation and movement down as low as possible so that we can get this gun aimed in a bit faster. The optics to be able to help spot for ourselves and get that nice 475 meters of view range you see there. And the advanced loader, naturally, because the DPM is poor, you really want to help the DPM out in this vehicle. In terms of the modules for the vehicle, that's where the engine block is. Like I say, this thing used to get set on fire all the time by getting shot in that engine block, but now it's got a 9.31% internal fire chance with the fire safety training. And if you do get set on fire, you don't get set on fire for very long, which is also quite nice for it now. The ammo racks are there. Generally, when I've been playing this thing, if I've been getting tracked through there or there, I don't actually get ammo rack that often. But if you get shot in this center section of the tank, that's where the ammo rack does get damaged, and it can be it can definitely be painful for this vehicle because your reload is already very slow. And that's where the crew sits in the Obj 777 version 2. And like I say, with the armor on this thing as well, this lower plate can actually be quite a troll for a lot of things to shoot at. If you're shooting at this lower plate, remember to shoot it as low as humanly possible to be able to actually pen it, because if you hit this upper section, this is where it's actually thickest. The upper plate can be very, very good as well. It does like to ricochet a lot of shots because of how well sloped it is, but be careful of the tier 10 premium rounds, especially the tier 10 TDs, because they do just butcher the front of this vehicle very, very easily. But the turret front is very, very good. This will bounce most vehicles. You just got to be careful of the occasional shots hitting this cupola where it randomly just pens it. But generally, the turret is very, very good, and it's very, very nice to play indeed, the Obj 777 version 2 in terms of its armor. And I'll say the side scraping ability of it is its king. That's where its strength is. It is very, very good at it. So as long as you can side scrape on a corner, that's where you're going to go very, very well with this vehicle. And in terms of the statistics for this vehicle, with how we've got it set up, we've got a 40 km/h top speed, 15 km/h reverse speed, 850 horsepower engine, which is 17.07 horsepower per ton ratio, which generally, again, it does get to that 40 km/h top speed, which is definitely nice for the vehicle. But you've got a 2.44 soft terrain, 1.32 on medium, and 1.13 on firm, which is not the best, and generally it holds it back depending on the terrain you are on. You've got 30.42 degree a second hull rotation speed, with a 33.23 degree a second turret rotation speed. So the turret rotation is that little bit faster than the tracks, which is nice, but generally it's in the average position for a heavy tank in terms of the traversal speeds. You got 475 meters of view range, which again is good enough to spot for yourself in the 777 version 2. You got 1.18 accuracy during rotation with a 2.05 accuracy during movement, which means that the vehicle aim circle is blooms out quite a lot, and that means you do feel the 2.72 second aim time. The 2.72 second aim time is not great, and you will feel that, which is a bit of a pain for the 777 version 2, and it just restricts you again with the poor DPM in terms of putting out that damage. You also have the 0.39 accuracy at 100 meters as well, which means this gun is derpy, which means if you don't get this gun fully aimed in, it does like missing shots quite a lot. You've got 6 degrees of gun depression, which is slightly better than 5, but it's still not great. But it means you're a little bit better on a ridgeline than most other Soviet vehicles. But you're also a central mounted turret, which means that it's a little bit more awkward to use the ridgelines as opposed to some of the frontal mounted turrets that you get on some of the vehicles. You've got 12.34 second reload, which is 2.1k DPM, which again is poor, considering that other vehicles like the M103 or the Conqueror, stuff like that, now have 440 alpha, same as you. They have 10 degrees of gun depression, they have really accurate guns. They have about 2.5 to 2.6k DPM, whereas you've got 2.1, which, like I say, it used to be when they have 400 alpha, it meant you hit a bit harder. It was nice, but now that they've been buffed to 440 alpha, they're just generally far better than this vehicle for that sort of thing, as well as the fact that they can be very good hull down, you know? So that's a bit of a sad time for the 777 version 2. You got 258 penetration on the standard AP, 340 on the heat, 68mm on the HE. So the HE has 530 alpha, 440 on the AP and the heat rounds. Again, just like the M48 120mm, enough to go through most vehicles you're going to face. If you struggle with the AP, just load heat and you absolutely butcher them as long as you avoid spaced armor. And another reason this gun feels a bit derpy is you do have 940 meters a second shell velocity on the standard AP, 920 on the heat, which means that the velocity is below that 1,000 meters a second at average, meaning you have to give a good amount of lead at distance to be able to hit your shots, and it generally just makes this tank feel that little bit derpy in terms of how the gun handling is, as well as the actual gun handling stats. But like I say, it's not a terrible tank, the 777 version 2, it's still fully capable, but it's just one of those vehicles that is definitely a little bit frustrating, especially when some of the games do go a bit quicker, because you do struggle to keep up at times with it, and it's one that's not aged well, is what I'd say. A power creep is definitely a thing for the 7.7 version 2. When it first came out, it was pretty solid, but yeah, these days it's not quite as good. But yeah, that's the 7.7 version 2. Like I say, I will have a separate video on this vehicle showing off a bit more gameplay about it, talking about it a bit more, but we're going to go into a bit of gameplay for you in this video, just so you get the general gist of the vehicle and just see how it handles. So as always, everybody, I'll see you in that replay. So here we are in the replay with the Obj 777 version 2 in this tier 10 game here on Vineyards. And what I want to do in this map is go to about E6, E5, in that little area there. We can go brawling, we can sort of side scrape a bit off of the rock faces. And we can also just play that peek-a-boom kind of game where we're limiting the amount of tank that people actually have to shoot. We can poke round and shoot them, and we're keeping the encounters at fairly close range as well, which can be decent for the 777 version 2. Because like I say, the gun handling on this vehicle is just a bit derpy. It's a bit derpy, it's a bit of a pain, and it does like missing shots at distance. So when you're closer up in that more brawly location, which is exactly what this tank wants to be, because it is a brawling heavy tank, it can be a lot more effective. But again, that's where the slower DPM can be a real pain, especially when you're facing quite a few tier 10s. Naturally, as a tier 9, you do see tier 10 matchups quite often, And quite a few of the tier 10s have, say, DPM at 3k or more. You know, consider the M48 120mm we've just seen, and that tank has 3.5k DPM and the same alpha and better accuracy and all that good stuff. So, yeah, I know it's a tier 10 and we're a tier 9, but you get my point. You face that quite often. Say the E5 that's just strolled past us. Again, you know, it's one of those things. And it can make this tank feel a bit underwhelming. Plus, if you get it into a side-scrapey position, if you get it into a position where you can use the armour effectively, the armour can be very, very nice, which is definitely good for the tank. So nothing seems to be here on this flank. And I'm like, okay, you know what? If nothing's on this flank, screw it. Let's go aggressively try and get behind and shoot this heavy tank in the ass. And Mr. Chieftain, we can put a shot into him, put it down to a one-shot. So that's what we do. Put a shot into the side of the Chieftain, pull back because he starts looking at us. There's also a Yag Tiger. Now, the Yag Tiger's a bit awkward because, yeah, we can pen the Yag Tiger quite easily through the lower plate, but that guy also has very good penetration and might not struggle to pen us. The E4 is also a bit awkward since he's come after us. Thankfully, he hit the floor because he snapped a shot at us on the move, but we went for the shot into his side and didn't pen him. We only did track damage. Now, this is going to be very, very awkward. You can see I'm angling as hard as possible. Put a shot into his lower plate. I'm angling it as much as possible. And thankfully, he ricochets off my side because he couldn't quite get the shot into the flat area where he could actually pen it. And that's where I say the armor on this thing is nice. It can bounce shots like that. And if you can force the enemy team into bad shots like we did there, you're going to bounce shots. You're not going to be an auto pen, and that is what is nice for it. So we got the shot into the E4. I'm going to get myself up close and personal to the rock again. We put a shot into the drive wheel, the track and pen the E4, damaging his ammo rack. And I'm hoping the TD behind me will now be able to kill him if he drives round. He's driving round there. I'm like, no, don't do it. Thankfully, he doesn't actually get the shot off. We took a hit there from H. No, I think there was actually a Nemesis behind us, and that's why they exploded. I think we bounced our own Nemesis TD's shot there, which is why we had the explosion effect hit us. But there we go. The M53-55 is actually behind us, so we're just aiming up the shot. You can see how long it takes to get this gun aimed in. It takes a while to get this gun aimed in, like a long while. Like, look at the aim time there, and if you don't fire fully aimed, the shots tend to go a bit high or a bit low, and like you saw there, we had most of the side there of the Death Star. It went high, hit his upper plate, and just bounced, and that is very much the gun handling. So again, I'm just going to use the cover in front of me to just protect me in case the Death Star decides to come out. And you can see I'm using it as a measured advance. That's what I'm going to call this, a measured advance. And that is that every time I was moving up in open ground, I was always aiming for a second bit of cover so that it was more likely that I could just use it to side scrape and bounce the Death Star. Because the Death Star could splash me, but if he fires AP, yeah, again, I could bounce him if I side scrape it. So we put a shot through the side of the Death Star, who was looking the other way. I'm just going to try and side scrape him out. Again, bait him into firing AP. If I take the Hesh round, I take the Hesh round. But at this point, we are winning. I just need to press the advantage to get some shots. We take a big hit in the rear from a Gorilla 15, which managed to get a shot into us from absolutely nowhere. We bounced the Death Star with the AP round, and again, that's why we were side-scraping, because again, this tank is very, very good at side-scraping. If you can get it into that sort of position, you can bounce all sorts off of that side, and we actually got the shot absorbed, well, the Death Star blew our tracks off with that AP round. That's a lot of penetration on that 183mm gun, and thankfully it didn't pen us. We managed to take a load more of his hit points, and we are up to 3.2k damage with 929 assistance. 2 tanks left, the Tortoise in front of us, and a Gorilla 15 was the one that shot us with heat in the back of the turret. So we're just aiming up the shot, put the shot into the side of the Tortoise for 410, and again, this is where the reload is just that little bit slow. I'm sitting there going, please team, don't kill the Tortoise. Oh, the Gorilla 15's in a position I might be able to shoot, but I can't quite get the reload in. Thankfully, he drives back out in front of us. We put the shot in for 407, low roll, and the Gorilla 15 gets finished off by the Hurry 1. That's a sad time we low rolled that, because we should have killed that guy majority of the time, but hey ho, just the Tortoise left on the enemy team. So we're just going to aim the shot up into the side of his hull, and we get the shot in to finish him off, securing our 3rd kill of the game, and a pretty decent total there for the 777 version 2. The 4.3k damage, a bit of assistance, the epic victory, 1671 base XP, as well as we actually blocked 2.4, nearly 2.5k damage there. Like I say, the armor on this tank can be very nice. It's just the damage output is very, very slow at what it does, and compared to what it will face, it can be a bit frustrating in that regard. But yeah, that's the 777 version 2. So now we're on to the French Tier 8 Premium Medium tank, the Bourrasque, which is a damn solid 2-tap pseudo scout medium tank, because that's the way this thing can play. It can play like a scout tank, it can do some good spot and assist games, but then you have the deadly ability of a double tap autoloader with 360 alpha on this tank to then dish out quite a bit of damage. The reload is a little bit slower these days, but your camo is still absolutely fantastic. You've still got the good mobility, but the gun is also a bit derpy, which can be a bit frustrating. But again, it can still push out some very good damage, very good spot and assist, and your camo means you're still a very, very stealthy vehicle, and it is just a really solid tank to play. A lot of enjoyment out of this vehicle, just like the Black Diamond that came out recently, but it's got the double tap autoloader, and obviously it's the older tank out of the two. But yeah, really solid to pick up for free. Do always love the Bourrasque. Have always loved this tank. It was a little bit, well, it was definitely overpowered for a very long time, but I think Mantis have taken that role, and also strength-wise, it's obviously lost a bit compared to power creep, but it's still very, very good. So, with the Bourrasque, in terms of a crew and equipment, what do I run? Well, we run Born Leader, Situational Awareness, Camouflage Expertise, Green Thumb, Run and Gun, Snapshot, Radio Jamming, Comms Expert, and Expert Gunner. Expert Gunner to increase the chance of damaging enemy crew and modules by 6%. Again, we're putting shots in very quickly with the double tap. It's nice to be able to do that. But we're also decreasing the effective distance on our penetration because we are firing 2 rounds of APCR. That drop-off can be quite a bit. So it's nice to be able to reduce that with Expert Gunner. Radio Jamming and Comms Expert, because I do play this thing at times like a scout where I can go into a aggressive bush to go spotting. So it's nice to be able to get spotted, unspotted I should say, quicker by 3 seconds, as well as spotting things for 3 seconds longer. It's nice to be able to do that to get assistance damage. The Run and Gun and Snapshot to get the accuracy during rotation and movement down as low as possible, same as running the gun stabilizer on this vehicle because it is poor otherwise. And yeah, the aim circle does bloom out quite a bit. You've got a fairly long aim time, so it's nice to be able to wield this gun in a bit. The Green Thumb and Camouflage Expertise to make the camo that way bit better because, again, the camo is a big strength of this vehicle, so making it better in a bush, making it better in general by 7.5% is something that is very nice for the tank to be able to do. Situational Awareness and Born Leader, like I said, we take on pretty much everything in the game. So in terms of equipment, I run the optics, the gun stabilizer, the improved concealment, and the low noise exhaust. Low noise exhaust to get the camo while on the move down as low as we can do, as close to the standard still concealment as we can, because again, it's a valid thing to be able to do for this vehicle to be able to keep the concealment while on the move, because you naturally, as a medium tank, unlike a light tank, and that's why it's a pseudo scout, you don't have as good a on-the-move concealment as you do still concealment. So you want to run low-noise exhaust to be able to make it so it's easier to get into bushes unspotted. The improved concealment, because we get down to that 268 meters of still concealment, which is still very, very good, and generally you get the on-the-move concealment down as well without having to sit still with the camo net. Gun stabilizer to get the accuracy during rotation and movement as good as humanly possible, and optics to be able to spot for ourselves with that 476 meters of view range. You really want the gun stabilizer, by the way, because, yeah, generally the accuracy during rotation and movement isn't the best, and you want to get this aim circle hemmed in as much as possible. If you wanted to, you could drop the low noise exhaust and just say, okay, I'm going to take the chance that I might get spotted getting into bushy locations. But if I do get into bushy locations, I can run the flash hider instead. And if I run the flash hider, I'm less likely to get less likely to get spotted while trying to actually fire at people through the concealment, and therefore I can stay in my sneaky position and just farm away. Or you could run something like the turbo to go even faster. It's really down to you and how you want to kit out the vehicle and how you're going to get the best out of it. And in terms of the modules for the vehicle, like I say, we've got the engine block here. This vehicle does like getting set on fire with that 20% internal fire chance, especially if you get shot in the mid to back end, so do be careful of that with the Bourrasque. That's where the ammo racks are. Again, it does like getting ammo racked because of how big the ammo racks are, and especially if you get shot through the front like that with a HE round, which can happen because it's a very lightly armoured vehicle, its likelihood is they're going to blow the ammo rack, so be careful of that because it goes through not just one but two modules for the ammo rack. So yeah, do be careful of that with the Bourrasque, and that's where the crew sits in the Bourrasque. And like I say, it is a pseudo scout. It's a Batchat 12T hull with a turret and 105, whatever it is, which means that yeah, this tank is paper. It's pure paper. Generally gets penned by everything. 20mm of armor on the hull. If you load HE and hit it in the side and avoid the skirts, yeah, this thing gets penned really easily by HE. So yeah, don't rely on the armor. Don't think it's going to have armor because it doesn't. But again, it is that pseudo scout gameplay. You've got to think of it more of a light tanky damage dealer than a medium tank that's got brawly armor, right? And yeah, that's the armor and the modules. In terms of the statistics for the Bourrasque, we've got a 62 km/h top speed, 23 km/h reverse speed, 310 horsepower engine, which is 25.77 horsepower per ton ratio, which means this thing does fly up to its top speed very, very easily. It is a very, very mobile tank. As you can see, the ground resistances are fantastic. They do not hold this tank back whatsoever. 20% internal fire chance, like I say, high end of fire chances. It does get set on fire, so do be careful of that. 40 degrees a second on the hull rotation speed means this tank does turn pretty quickly on its tracks, which is lovely. 45 degrees a second on the turret rotation speed means the turret does turn very quickly as well, meaning that it's very nimble and it doesn't feel lethargic whatsoever with this vehicle, which is glorious. 268 metres of still concealment with 285 metres of on the move concealment means this vehicle is very, very stealthy and is very, very nice indeed for that. 476 metres of view range means it can spot for itself very, very well as well, which is always great for the vehicle. 1.63 accuracy during rotation, 2.87 accuracy during movement. You can see why we run snapshot, run and gun, and the gun stabilizer. Dreadful, absolutely dreadful. And it means the aim circle becomes absolutely huge on this tank. And you've got a 3.07 second aim time as well, which means it does take a long time to get this gun aimed in, which again is pain. 0.4 accuracy at 100 meters as well means it's pretty derpy too, which is a frustration. Again, this tank can miss quite a few shots. The gun handling generally isn't that good, but it's to balance out the fact that you do push out damage very, very quick with this 2-shot reloading clip. You've got 2-second intricate reload as well, which means you push out 2 rounds of 360 very, very quickly. So it's to balance out the fact that you do have that capacity and you are a very, very good scout tank with a good damage dealing. 6 degrees of gun depression. Again, not good, but not terrible. But it does mean you have to pick and choose the right position to be able to get the gun down on target. The 25.89 second reload is 1500 DPM, but again, for auto loaders, you do not pay attention to raw DPM because it is more about the burst capacity of the vehicle. And this vehicle is very, very good at getting into position, double tapping someone, and actually not getting spotted. So you get the ability to just sit there, reload, and then double tap again. And it is very, very good at that. You got 190mm of penetration on the standard APCR, which is low. 240 on the premium APCR, which is decent, but again, you're going to struggle against some tier 9s and 10s. 53 on the HE. You never really take the HE because you only have 36 ammo. You only have 36 shells in the tank. So, yeah, you never really take the HE. The standard APCR pen is low, and that really does struggle to go through quite a few vehicles. The 240 is enough to go through most vehicles in the side, though, which can be pretty handy. 360 alpha on the standard APCR and the premium APCR, and 440 on the HE, but like I say, never really use the HE. 1,000 meters a second shell velocity on the standard APCR, 1250 on the premium APCR, so you can see why a lot of these fire full premium rounds, and it's because the shell velocity is very good at 1250, and you get the 240 pen as well, meaning you don't really struggle for penetration. But the 1,000 meters a second is bang on average, meaning you do have to give a decent amount of distance to be able to hit your targets. The premium APCR, though, is pretty solid for it as well. And you've got a 150% silver bonus, as it is a tier 8 premium tank, meaning it does make a decent amount of silver, depending on how much premium ammo you actually have to fire out of this Bourrasque. But like I say, the Bourrasque is absolutely solid vehicle. The way it plays is a lot of fun. Like I say, you can scout with it very, very easily. You can dish out damage with the double tap very, very easily. It is just a generally nice vehicle to play if you like your lightly armoured pseudo-scout type games. And you can't go wrong with the Bourrasque. It is a lot of fun to play. I've always loved playing this vehicle since it's came out, and yeah, a lot of fun. So what I'm going to do now is send you into the replays where you can watch this vehicle in action and see how it handles. Do remember that, like I say, I'm going to have a separate video on this tank showing you about 3 more games in this tank, so you can just, again, get more of a gist of how it is and see how it handles. But we're just going to show you one game here so you get the general gist of the tank. So as always, everybody, I'll see you in the replay. So here we are in the replay with the Bourrasque, and this game we're on top tier. We're on this map, which is Cliff. And on Cliff from this side, I don't want to go into the bowl area at EF2 because you die very, very easily trying to rush into that area from this spawn. Their spawn can get into that area very easily, but if they have any sort of team that decides to go into it, you just get wrecked. You don't really have too many people sometimes that do go that way, and yeah, it's a bad, bad time to lead to death very quickly. So what we're going to do is come to this bush here very early on, and that way we can poke over and shoot people in the side as they progress up the HJK lines, because we will get there in time. We bounced a shot off of the M48 there, or was it an M67 Zippo? I'm not sure, but it was an M48 or an M67 at a glance. We bounced. Sad times, but we did get a shot into the other dude and now we're on the move. So they've got quite a few tanks going up the 6 line. What I'm going to decide to do is push the middle area from a safer area, and by doing this, I can then shoot these guys in the side from this mid area, because there's a medium tank at D1, and he's not really actually seen anything come into this middle area. Now again, if I was to come in this way down the 1-2 line like they can, it's quite an awkward position to come into, and it's very easy to die, whereas if we want to take this area, we have to do exactly what we've done there. So we come through, we get spotted by, I assume, the Progetto 46 there, which I was quite surprised about. I didn't think he'd actually see me there, but probably close enough. We get a double tap into him, and we're up to 1,080 damage. And again, we're in the perfect position for us. We can use the camo, and we can try and get the double taps off. So you can see me going, okay, I'm going to have to go up into a better position. I'm going to try and use the bush areas here to stay unspotted and then be able to poke over and shoot these guys. And that's exactly what we're doing. Now we've used the concealment better, we are now actually unspotted while getting shots into people like the Progetto there, who we put one shot into, and we finish him off. And we never got spotted. And that's because we've used the bush cover correctly. Before, when I got spotted, I was just completely out in the open, not using any concealment whatsoever. Now we're using bush cover, we didn't get spotted quite as easily. Now I'm expecting to possibly get spotted from this section, because again, we're not really using bush cover quite as well. We've gotten ourselves a little bit closer to the enemy team. The likelihood is if we shoot at these guys now, we are going to get spotted, but we've got a double tap, we can do it quickly. So we put one shot into the VK3002M, and we bounce. Tier 6 medium tank, we bounce because we hit the wrong section there. But again, that's the derpiness of the gun coming into play at that little bit of distance, because we aimed at the rear of the VK3002M, it went high and hit him in the gun. So, yeah, pain. But now we're on the reload, and again, that's where the strength of the Bourrasque comes in, because you can play the spotting game quite easily in this vehicle. But also, because of the fast intraclip reload, you can also get damage out so quickly that once you get spotted, you go bang, bang, I'm now ready to run away. So we get spotted, pull back into a position where we can stay safe, and now we can just sit and reload as well. We know we're completely covered from behind because the heavy tanks and the medium tanks have poked through to the 1-2 line, so there's nothing threatening us that way, and we can just use this tank perfectly as we want to, which is that damage dealer. So when we're just waiting for the reload, we can then try and shut down this buggy or shoot the BZ-58 in the side. We're just having a bit of an awkward moment with the terrain where I'm sitting there going, come on tank, please get up this terrain. And there we go. We can now use the bush cover a bit better, try and aim up the shots into the side of this BZ's turret. We do get spotted though, and that's that light tank that was spotted directly in front of us. We are detected by that light tank. It was that guy there that actually saw us. And so we only got one shot into the BZ-58, and that's quite a regular thing for the Bourrasque. Because this gun handling isn't the best, quite a lot of the time you might get one shot in and then the second shot bounces or the second shot misses, because, again, the gun handling can be just a bit poo. And you sit there going, come on, gun, really? Thanks for that. So there Goranich is in the open for us. Our Goraniches are very awkward to be able to shoot at with this thing. We get the shot through his droid, finishing him off, putting us up to 3 kills. We've got the kill shot on the Churchill 7, which we get in there for our 4th kill of this game. We're up to 3.3k damage with 84 assistance. And we're going to wait on the reload then to try and get either shots into the CDC or the guys camping in the base, because there's still quite a few tanks left. There's a medium tank and a light tank up north. There's a TD down below and a medium tank, and that means that there's still 1 or 2 things that are left unspotted. So now we're waiting on the reload. We actually see where the STRV-81 is. We can poke over, see him, and we get spotted, but the detected symbol doesn't go off, which means that we can sit here quite happily and try and get shots into this STRV-81, which we get 1 into the side of his turret, but the second one bounces. And again, it's where the awkwardness of this gun is going to come into play. Trying to get those sorts of slimmer shots on people like the STRV-81 that we see there, that's going to be awkward for this tank to be able to actually pull off, because the shots do tend to go quite a lot all over the place, which, yeah, can be a bit frustrating. So now we're nearly reloaded. We pull back into the bush where he's not going to spot us, and then hopefully he might actually pull back into a position where we can shoot at him. So we can just see the top of his engine deck, so if we can find that shot, that'd be great, but maybe also the side of his turret there as well. So he finally pulls back into a position where I might actually get a better shot. We put the shot in, it dips low, hits the floor. That was possibly the best shot we were going to get at that dude as well. Waiting for the next chance to get a better shot into him, looking for the side of his turret once again, and that one does fly true straight into the side of the turret of the STRV-81. Putting us up to 4,024 damage, 84 assistance with the 4 kills, and now we're reloading. The Canonian Jagdpanzer 105 finally gets himself spotted. He was sat in that corner the entire time, and this is one of those where you're sitting there going, please team, don't kill him, team, let me get a chance, just let me shoot him, team, come on. You can do it. Don't shoot him. Let me get it. We're nearly loaded. 2, 1. He takes a hit, gets tracked. We get shot into his side, and he gets finished off by the M48 round Panzer. Thankfully, we did get a full penetrating shot there into him, but we didn't get a 5th kill, which is a sad time. But we do finish the game with a good total there for the Bourrasque. The victory, 4 kills, 4.3k damage, 106 assistance, decent amount of silver as well with the 124,000. High caliber, the 2nd class. Decent game for the Bourrasque. Just showing off what it is perfectly capable of. That fantastic pseudo-scout double tapper. So we're on to the last tank of the video. It is the T28 HTC, which has the Santa Sleigh skin, as you can see here. In fact, to be fair, I never mentioned it, but all the vehicles that we are showing here have the skins that you can get for 2,000 Snowballs. These are the skins that you will get for it. But yeah, the T28 HTC with its Santa Sleigh skin, everyone should know what this vehicle is about. It's a preferential Tier 7 premium tank destroyer, which generally I don't think is that good, honestly. It's got the decent-ish armor, but generally, as soon as people have 220, 230, 240 pen, which a lot of the tier 8s generally do have, and quite a few of the tier 7s have if they fire premium, the armor just absolutely falls apart. And the pain for me is the fact that you do have the weak spots. You have the giant weak spots, this one here, and this one here. But if you use it correctly, you can actually cover those weak spots very, very easily by poking around corners. But people just seem to go through the upper plate / lower plate really, really easily, and it just means that the armor nature of this vehicle, because it is very, very slow, just doesn't quite hold up. The gun's also a bit derpy, DPM's okay, your penetration's a bit meh. The only benefit really for the tank is the fact that it does have preferential matchmaking, meaning it can't see tier 9s. But yeah, it's not the best vehicle in the universe. But like I say, most people won't even consider this vehicle because it's been given away in Earnops quite a few times. So, with the T28 HTC, what do I run in terms of a crew and equipment? So, with this tank, I run Born Leader, Situational Awareness, Run and Gun, Snapshot, Rapid Aim, Clutch Braking, the Armour Angling, the Camouflage Expertise, and the Track Mechanic. Track Mechanic, because we are a brawly tank destroyer, I like to be able to get the tracks back on faster if I've already burnt the repair kit. It's an asset to be able to do for the vehicle. Camouflage Expertise, because actually we do have pretty good camo, and it's something that can be nice for the tank if we do get into a tank destroyer relocation to stay unspotted. The Armour Angling, because again, we do get stuck in, so it's nice to be able to reduce the amount of damage coming to the tank by 5%. Clutch Braking, because the track traverse is so slow on this tank. It's so slow. So it's nice to be able to get the tracks faster. We actually run Rapid Aim, because it makes the gun turn from left to right faster, and it's something that's nice to be able to do for this vehicle, so we can get the gun on target that little bit quicker. Snapshot again, and Run and Gun to make the accuracy during rotation and movement down as low as possible, especially for when we're rotating the gun. It means that when we turn the gun to left to right, it doesn't bloom out quite as badly, and the Run and Gun keeps that accuracy during movement down as low as possible, so the aim circle doesn't bloom out hugely. And it's something that's nice to be able to do because we don't get the option to run a gun stabilizer because we are a tank destroyer. And then these two generally on every other vehicle in the game. And in terms of equipment, we run the Advanced Loader, the Grousers, the Optics, and the Improved Concealment. Improved Concealment to get the still concealment you see there down to 288 meters of still concealment. Optics to get the 452 meters of view range, which is still not great, but it's above the 445 meter spotting cap, so at least we can see for ourselves. Grousers, Track Traverse. Absolutely track traverse. This thing is so slow to turn left and right. We're trying to help the track traverse out as much as possible with clutch braking, with the Grousers, just so we can actually turn this tank and get the gun on target. And the advanced loader to get the best out of the DPM. And in terms of the commander for the vehicle, we do, like I say, we've already been through that. I don't know why my brain went, yes, let's go and tell you again about the commander. No, but yeah, in terms of the equipment and commander, that's what we run to try and just get the best out of the tank that we can do, because again, this tank is just not the best, and if we can squeeze out the best out of everything, that's just what we want to try and do with it. In terms of the modules, that's where the ammo rack sits in this vehicle. It actually gets ammo racked really easily if people shoot it in the side, so if you're looking at this thing sideways on, try and shoot it below where this turreted area is here. Try and shoot it there, you'll damage the ammo rack. That's where the engine block is. It's got a 20% internal fire chance. It does like getting set on fire. Any shot that pens you through the back there will damage the engine and set you on fire. So pain for the T28 Pro, or T28 HTC, sorry. And that's where the crew sit. That's a really uncomfortable position for the. It's a bit close. It's a bit close. The love seat. That's the love seat. But yeah, that's where the crew sits in the T28 HTC. In terms of the armor, like I say, the armor on this vehicle, 203 on that lower plate. So if you angle it, the way this thing wants to do is poke around corners like that. It can be very, very awkward to track and pen it. And then you can turn the gun round and then they won't be able to see the weak spot that is here as well. But, like I say, generally a lot of the higher pen guns just seem to absolutely butcher this poor tank, and it is very, very sad for what is an armoured tank destroyer. Now, the weak spots are here on the side, so if you get this thing front on like this, and you don't have the best of pan, just shoot it in the machine gun ports there and there, because they're the easy pens. The lower plate, like I say, or this section here, if you've got 220, 230, 240 pen, you go straight through it. And even at the angles, a lot of the time, people just go straight through it. And it's so frustrating for that. I kind of wish that this plate here was a lot thicker, so that when I'm trying to actually play this thing like it wants to play, I can actually bounce stuff and be happy. But yeah, I found that the armor on this tank is super inconsistent, and that is a super frustrating point for the vehicle. So let's get into the statistics of the T28 HTC. So as you can see here, we've got 29 km/h top speed, 10 km/h reverse speed, 960 horsepower engine, which is 13.71 horsepower per ton ratio, meaning it is a very slow and sluggish tank. 2.31 on soft, 1.86 on medium, 1.33 on firm. Poor, again, means it holds it back quite a bit depending on the terrain. And since you're already slow, that's painful. 20.95 degree a second hull rotation speed, slow. So slow. The gun rotates in 20.84 degrees a second as well, which again is fairly slow. It's a very slow and lethargic tank destroyer. That's just the way it is. You got 288 meters of steel concealment there, which is actually pretty good concealment for this kind of tank destroyer, which is nice for the T28 concept. And if you're in the bush cover, you can actually stay on spot fairly easily while firing through it, which is good. But you are likely to get spotted getting into position as you have 333.3 meters of on-the-move concealment. That is a really satisfying on-the-move concealment. 33333. Okay. 452 meters of view range, again, is good enough because you're above the 445 meter spotting cap, but it's not great view range, but it's decent for a tier 7 tank destroyer, to be fair. You've got a 1.34 accuracy during rotation, which is not too good, with a 2.11 accuracy during movement. As a pair, not too great, and it means the aim circle does bloom out a lot. But you do have a 2.01 second aim time, though, and that means it does aim in the gun pretty quickly, which is good for the T28 concept. You've got a 4.4 degree of gun depression, so again, be careful where you put this tank because the gun depression is not great and it does struggle over ridge lines. So yeah, it's poor gun depression indeed. 0.38 accuracy at 100 meters means this vehicle is a bit derpy as well. Even when you're fully aimed, does like missing shots that you sit there going, come on T28 concept, really? Thanks for that, bro. Thanks for that gun, you know. 8.87 second reload is 2.1k DPM, which again is decent for tier 7, to be fair. It's not bad, it's not great, but it's decent for tier 7. I mean, consider that's fairly similar to the 777 version 2. You've got 181mm of penetration on the standard AP, 224 on the APCR, 53 on the HE. Generally, that's enough to go through everything you're going to face because you don't see tier 9s. So that's decent for the T28 concept. 320 alpha on the standard AP and the APCR, and 420 on the HE. 53mm of penetration is enough to go through a lot of the artilleries as well that you'll see at tier 5, 6, 7. So that can be decent for the T28. You've got 872 meters a second shell velocity on the standard AP, 1075 meters a second shell velocity on the premium APCR, and 901 meters a second shell velocity on the HE. So, yeah, the velocities are below average on the HE and the AP, and slightly above average on the APCR. They're still not the best velocities in the universe, and again, it helps this gun feel that little bit more derpy. Just pay attention to how much lead you're gifting things at range, as, yeah, you want to make sure that you're going to be able to hit those targets. So give a lot of distance to be able to shoot these things, right? So, 140% silver bonus as well. Not too bad for a tier 7 premium tank. Take that on the T28 concept. So yeah, that's the T28 concept. Like I say, it's just not the best tank destroyer in the universe. It's not a very good tier 7 tank destroyer. The armor, which is the key thing of the tank, doesn't really hold up that well. And it can just be generally a fairly frustrating tank to play. So what I'm going to do now is send you into the replay where you can watch this tank in action and just see how it handles a bit. So as always, everybody, I will see you in the replay. So here we are with the T28 HTC, and this vehicle, like I say, is one of those that we're on this map, which is Pilsen, which should be a decent map for the T28 HTC. We're in a bad matchup for the T28 HTC, though. We're in against tier 8s, which is the worst matchup we can see. And this is one of those tanks that, when we get a map like Pilsen, it should be perfect for it. But it can still be very, very awkward because, yeah, we can angle exactly how we want to around buildings. We can poke around so we can use the gun looking to the right-hand side or the left-hand side, make it so that the droids on the left and right of the tank are covered because they are very, very awkward weak spots as they're very easily pennable by most vehicles. And we can make the lower plate at an extreme angle, make it difficult for people to pen and poke around. But there are a lot of tanks out there that you'll actually face that will just laugh at you. And even though you've got the lower plate angled at an extreme angle, it will just still end up going straight through it, which can be super frustrating. So we take the hit from the Brumbayer there to put 2 shots in. We probably shouldn't have done that because we're actually a 1-shot for the Grom. And that Grom, especially if he's firing premium, will just butcher our armor. He'll go straight through it, no problem whatsoever. So we drive around, put a shot into the T28 85M, securing our first kill of this game, up to 840 damage. We load the APCR round, so we have that 224 pen to go through the Grom's lower plate, because the Grom is one of those that's a bit awkward with the armor it has, to be able to pen it with the AP rounds. The Indian Panzer fires premium, has absolutely no issues whatsoever going straight through our armor, and we ricocheted off of the side of him, which is pretty awkward. The Jackson drives round, just looking for a shot into his turret face there, because we've got premium loaded, and we get the shot in. A bit awkward there with the medium tank just sat behind us, like, hang on a minute, why am I moving so slowly? The Jackson pens us, no problems, with premium straight through the lower plate. That's a tier 6 tank destroyer, by the way. And this is what I'm on about with the armor. I'm thinking, where did he pen us? Straight through the upper plate. Yeah, he hit us in the upper plate and penned it, no problem. And that's what I'm saying about with the armor of the T28 HTC. It is just a uber frustrating vehicle to play. It's not one that I enjoy whatsoever because of the fact that if I've got a tank, I like to have something I can rely on. If it's not got any armor, that means I can go, okay, is the gun good, or the alpha nice, or the DPM good, you know, that sort of thing. And if it is, then that's also good, because naturally you can have bad armor and bad gun handling, but you can have high alpha and you go, oh, that's satisfying. Or you could have not the best alpha damage, but you can have good DPM and great gun handling, and you go, okay, I've got great gun handling to make up for the lack of armor. Or you can go, okay, I've got a fairly bad gun, like the 777, I've got a fairly bad gun and fairly bad DPM, but at least I can rely on the armor to work for me for the most part. This tank, the armor just goes, yeah, you know what, I work sometimes, and at other times not at all. People will just laugh at me. If people know how to take me out, they'll easily tear me apart. The gun handling is derpy. It just loves missing shots, and you sit there going, oh, great. Like the shot on the SU-100 a minute ago, where the shots just go, I'm just going to go to the sky, you know? And then the armor doesn't hold up. And it's just a very, very frustrating vehicle for me in general to play. It just is. So we're going to drive around after Mr. Sturmy Boy here. So we're not actually spotted again. This is the camo of the vehicle. The camo is very, very good. That guy clearly has not set up whatsoever for any sort of view range, because that thing is blind if you don't set it up with any sort of view range, like situational awareness or optics or stuff like that. And that meant that he didn't see us. Unfortunately, we went for the lower plate shot on the Stern Panzer. He got to a position where he was close enough to be able to see us. We bounced off of our general. I'm sitting there going, oh boy, I'm going to die now because of that. But thankfully, he didn't get his gun aimed in on target, and so we managed to pick up the kill on that German Tier 7 tank destroyer. Drive around the corner, get the food boost in there for the better reload, put the shot into the ISU-152. Not enough to kill him, though, but the general does pick up the kill. There's 6 tanks left on the enemy team. The IS in the distance. Arty hits as I'm sitting there going, oh boy, I'm going to die to Arty now. That's not a good time. Thankfully, it misses that shot, though, and I have to be careful about how I'm going to go up on this ridgeline, because I feel like if I go up on this ridgeline, I should still not really get spotted by a lot of their team, but I also don't want to get spotted, because if I get spotted, that artillery is going to kill us. So we're just going to sit and wait for this TD to spot up that IS, because there was an IS over there, but in fact, the Duster gets spotted. And that shot just goes to the left, goes low, doesn't hit the Duster, sadly. But we have the opportunity to now shoot the IS, which we're going to take. So we go for the lower plate shot on the IS. It goes low. Thanks, gun. That's really good of you. But again, we're going to be loaded. This time the shot goes true, hits him for 313. Get ourselves lower, because that Duster is coming this way, so that we're not going to get spotted and hit by the RT. But maybe the Duster will drive into a position where we can shoot him. But the IS is still not dead, so we put the shot. That wasn't even that well aimed, and that went straight in compared to the previous 2 shots at his lower plate that missed. Like, thanks, game. RNGesus, you are great sometimes, you know. So, the M42 Duster gets shut down by the Basotto. The General shuts down the Indian Panzer, leaving just 1 vehicle left alive. It is the artillery. We're not going to get the chance to actually be able to shoot this dude. So we're up to 2.6k damage with the 4 kills. Pretty decent game there for the T28. And I think that game in general showed off some of the things that can be nice about the vehicle, but also some of the frustrations of this vehicle. So we finished the game with the 4 kills, 2.6, nearly 2.7k damage, 1667 base XP. Pretty solid game for the T28 HTC, which is a vehicle, again, you can get in the Snowball store, just like the Bourrasque, just like the 777 version 2, and the M48 120mm. I would fully recommend any of the other 3, not particularly this vehicle, and then spend your snowballs on camos, which you can put on any of the vehicles all year round. So, as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.
A great success.